Hey church, I'm Ryan. Janelle and I just went on a walk. That was a nice walk, but we gotta wash our feet. Our feet are pretty dirty. So step in here, Janelle. Alright. Let's wash your feet. What? You saying you don't do this? You go on walks? You don't wash your feet after your walks? Okay, step back. I mean, it's what they did in Jesus' day, that's for sure. There you go. All right, your feet are all clean. All right, we'll see you later. That's what they did. They washed feet. I don't know why we're talking about feet. We just wanted to go on a walk. But today is Maundy Thursday. And in the four Gospels, there's 4 different accounts of what took place on that Thursday during the Passover feast. And of course Matthew, Mark, and Luke all share about Jesus kind of kicking off the first communion, as it were, setting what has since been something that we do in church all the time to remember his sacrifice. But only John talks about something Jesus did that was a little bit different. Well, the foot washing, for example. In John 13, it says, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. In a minute, it says, Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God and would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, poured water into a basin, and then he began to wash the disciples' feet. But it's not like our perfectly manicured feet, with trimmed toenails and everything nice and clean. If they're walking around all the time outside with sandals or bare feet, I mean, come on, their feet are dirty, they're nasty, they're smelly, they're calloused. I mean, this was a pretty nasty job to do, and Jesus puts a towel around his waist and he does it. Probably right when they got into the room. Let's clean our feet, but I'm going to do it for you. This is something that a slave would do, a lowest servant would do. I mean, it is utterly disgusting to touch somebody's stinky, smelly feet. And it must have been just completely shocking to the disciples. What in the world you're doing? In fact, we see Peter's reply. He says, "No, never will you wash my feet." Peter. Luckily, though, for us, Jesus explains the example. So this is what he says a little bit later. He says, "You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that is what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you." Have you ever had your feet washed? Maybe some symbolic gesture. I remember as a teenager having my feet washed in one of these, and I think at the time I was just it was such an awkward experience. It was just kind of bizarre. I think that the symbolism and the meaning of it just went right over my head. And maybe this is something we don't do a whole lot anymore. Certainly, we take baths or showers once a day or every other day or something like that. We wear shoes. We wear socks. It's not something we do a whole lot. And I think maybe I'm not the only one that when we do it, the symbolism is overshadowed by kind of the awkwardness of the act. But I think right now we find ourselves in extraordinary times. Do we not? This is not an ordinary time that we're walking in right now, that we're going through. And, Jesus said, "Do as I have done to you." So we get this privilege to copy Jesus, to follow in his footsteps, to do what he did for his disciples, and to serve those around us, to do the lowliest job, to serve anyone and everyone. And I get that maybe right now, if we're quarantined, if we're stuck in our homes, we might have to get a little creative. But this is what Jesus did for his disciples. It's what he did for us. It's now what we get to do for each other and for those that we interact with. I want to be reminded that there is no person that is beneath me. There is no task that is beneath me to be able to serve that person. Whoever, maybe it's a family member. If you can't leave the house, maybe it's your actual neighbor or somebody across the street. I don't know. But like I said, I think we might have to get a little creative with this. A band a number of years ago called Sanctus Real came out with a song, The Face of Love. And I love the lyrics in part of it. It says, "You are the face that changed the whole world. No one too lost for you to love. No one too low for you to serve. So give us the grace to change the world. No one too lost for me to love. No one too low for me to serve. Let us see, let us be your face." So, it's Maundy, Thursday. Maybe today, maybe this Maundy, Thursday, let's put ourselves there in that upper room with Jesus, with the disciples, seeing what's taking place. Let's experience the shock and the awe of what Jesus was doing, the example that he was setting for the disciples, ultimately for us, where he loved them to the end. Let us remember that there is no one too lost, no one too low for us to serve. And let us consider ways that we, maybe by getting creative, can do the same. It might not be washing feet. I don't know what it is for you. There's a lot of things. But let's get creative. How can we serve each other? How can we love others to the end, as Jesus did? There was no one too lost, no one too low to serve. We love you, and we want to celebrate our Lord Jesus and what he did for us. Blessings.